Yeah. So the first question I'd like to ask is just, what caused you to trust a random stranger to save your marriage?
Well, at the time, I was at an all-time low.
Yes.
Um, like, let's see, we had just separated. I was trying to figure out what the frick am I doing wrong? Because I went to one therapist. He recommended I read No More Mr. Nice Guy about 3 years ago, and I thought,
Nice.
oh, this is great. Okay, but that's about as far as I got. Was just reading the book, and the more I kind of dove into Dr. Glover, I realized I really think I need like some sort of a men's group or community to help me with this. So I kind of looked around over the past 3 years for something where I could get that kind of support. Not really finding it. I looked at Dr. Glover's Integrated Nation, but I was like, well, it's a little, at least to me, it appeared more of the dating scene. And I was like, I'm not dating. I'm
Yeah.
married.
Different skill set. Yeah.
Yeah. And so then, it was like the worst night ever, just separated, was doing social media, looking like, okay, how can I save my marriage? How can I do this? Probably watched about 10 to 15 of your videos because it just popped up. And I really liked what I saw versus like some of the others where they're like, they barely give you anything. Like, here's a little goldfish, call us and pay, thousands of dollars. Whereas you're like, here's more specific steps you can do. And it gave me more to go off of. And then I looked at the website. I thought, yeah, this looks legit. This is exactly what I've been looking for.
Cool. Yeah. I love to hear the process of how, people find us and all that stuff. So more specifically in the marriage, though, like what was being said, or did she mention the word divorce? Was it like, what was going
More
on
or
there?
less, yeah. She didn't say that exactly, but she was, I think we'd be happier with other people. So she didn't say the
Oh.
D word exactly, but she's like, I think we'd be happier with other people.
Hmm.
Like, I think you'd be happier with somebody else. You don't want me anymore. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
And she's like, and I think I'd be happier with somebody else. Like, I'll always love you, but I'm not in love with you. Like, just like your module says. And so I was just like, oh no, I'm like devastated. She's like, I've already kind of started looking around. And so all of that was the big trigger. And initially, she's like, I want you to move out into a completely different place. And I kind of financially talked her out of it in the sense of, well, we do have a basement room. I'll just take that room. You stay upstairs and we'll minimize contact. This was like probably stage one, right? She didn't want to talk. She just said, stay out of my life. I'll stay out of yours.
Yeah.
So
That's where you were at. Yeah.
that's where I was at. Yeah.
But right at the very bottom, like you said, stage one. And a lot of guys they lose hope. And I haven't asked this question in a while to a man on this call, but I'm getting a lot of reward calls recently, which is great. Uh, yeah. So what gave you the hope and belief that like I still can save this? How did you find that?
Um, well, so when I got the preliminary call and they told me this is what you've probably been doing wrong, they're like
Mhm.
death by a thousand cuts, and I was like, oh, it feels like death by a thousand slashes in my case, just it was
Sure.
it was terrible. I didn't realize how bad I was. And so my first call with Coach Chris said, don't give up hope. And one of my values learned later is persistence.
Oh, love that.
So I can't give up. And that's probably one of my favorite modules was figuring all of that out. It took me probably a couple of months. So your lesson doesn't learn that, but I created this is my backdrop, has
Oh,
all of
yeah.
them.
Growth, conviction, charity. Ooh, charity. I've never seen someone use charity before. Love, courteous. That's amazing, man. I love that.
So I came up with, the 15 and then narrowed it down to the five. But I was like, well, I don't want to give up all the others but anyway, I tried to like, okay, how can I group this and come up with it? And then you constantly are talking about the four pillars of the house. And I said, well, here's the four pillars of me.
Love that.
So anyway, that's how I came up with it. But persistence is one of them. So I was trying not to give up hope. And even before I joined your program, like I'd been dealing with kind of severe depression and
Mm,
almost suicide a couple times.
wow.
So I was like, I've got to get myself out of this. Something's not right with me. I got to do better.
Do you mind if I inquire about that a little bit more?
Hmm.
Okay, so I just want to share since you're disclosing that, which wow. Yeah, I had suicidal thoughts in college and I thought everyone did. I thought it was a normal thing. Oh, everyone thinks about killing. Like, yeah, it's a normal thing. Like, and I finally talked to a therapist because we had to get therapy, because I was in the therapy program. And my therapist was like, no, Josh, that's actually not a normal thing that people think about a lot. I was like, really? And so we explored and we found out where that was coming from and he healed that. So for you, did you go through that same process of like understanding where that came from and then healing that?
Kind of. I mean, I've been through about three different therapists. Until I was in this program, really dove deep. I think it's module 5 where you're killing the boy, becoming the man type stuff, where I was really digging deep. And well, even that some of the earlier modules where you're talking about core beliefs and things like that, I hadn't really done the deep work to find out what was the root cause.
Mm.
And yeah, there was some unresolved childhood trauma, not feeling worth of things like that. And ironically, this past week, when I went to my DBT therapist, she said, "You don't need to see me anymore. Every time I'm trying to give you assignments, you've already done it. Everything I want you to think about, you're already doing it. There's no point in coming to me anymore." I was like, "Great." And then she's like, "What's the name of the program you're in?" I'm like, "Oh, it's Marriage Reset." And so she's like, I need to go start recommending other people to this." So bravo for you. It saved me.
Well, you did all the work, of course. I just laid out the plan and you actually walked that path. And I want to let's talk about the steps. First, actually, let's go to the ending where you're currently at. It's not really the ending, right? Because the work never stops, as you know. But what are some of the, like, why are we on this call? What are some of the positive results, the changes you've seen with her?
Oh, yeah. So where are we at? We're in stage 4. And like I wouldn't maybe progressing to stage 5, but she's definitely opening up more. I mean, initially, like I said, we were stage 1, hardly talking. And then when I said, "Hey, the only thing," well, and she kind of kept bringing up the D word, like, "When are we going to finalize this or whatever?" And Coach Tom's like, "Tell her I'm going through a program." You know, I kind of borrowed his language initially to buy myself some time. She goes, "Okay, I'm going to give us till the end of the year, and then I want to be done." And so and this was back in May. So I was like, "Okay, 7 months, I can make it happen. I'm persistent. I'm going to make this happen." So after about a month, she started seeing the changes. I didn't even have to do any CLCs or anything like that. She just kind of saw it. And she started talking to me more, being around me more, like because we share 4 kids.
Yeah.
She was upstairs, I was downstairs. I'm downstairs in the basement with my oldest. He was kind of talking to me because he was kind of seeing some of the changes I was doing. He's like, "Whatever you're doing, mom seems a lot nicer now." And she would start coming down, at least tolerating my presence more. So we moved to stage 2. And then another month passes. We go to stage 3, where she, I what was that when the balance of negative and positive balances? That stage 3, I can't remember. Or
Yeah,
the
stage is when it's pretty much 50-50. Yeah.
yeah. So she was getting lots of that, and then she goes, "Okay, let's try a date here and there and see how things go." And I said, "Great, it's whatever you want, and we'll take it nice and slow." But I was doing my own hobbies. I was doing things I had never like been able to do, or at least I thought I'd never been able to. So I started jujitsu. I started reading mass books from your library. Because another one of my values is growth, and I realized I wasn't honoring that in myself. I wasn't growing. So and I would start going to the gym, start going, hanging out with men. And before I'd kind of, because no one, this nice guy says, do men, hang out with men. I'd kind of done little men's nights here and there, but it was hard because everybody has kids and things like that. So I just said, you know what? When I go to the gym or I go to jujitsu or when I go to wherever, I'm just going to hang out with men and I'm going to make friends with them. So she started seeing that. And that kind of started bringing her back towards me. And then finally she said, "Okay, I'm ready to be around you more. I want to engage more." And what really kind of, I think, pushed her over the edge is she saw me in a group, men and women, everybody just kind of talking to me. I was like, "Oh, I'm getting a lot of big group. It must be that magnetism of the apex." And I'm not saying I'm 100% there, but she saw it. And she said she felt jealous of the women talking to me. Even though I wasn't flirting with them, they were just there.
But they were giving you attention.
Yeah, they were giving me attention. She didn't like that. So, I mean, she has had some emotional affair partners, but I don't think there's been physical partners, but there has been that. And then she came up to me and said, "I want to reconcile. I want to fix things. I want to move forward with just you. I want to be exclusive with you. I don't want any of that anymore. I want you back." And so I was like, well, that's a good first step. That's good. So that was about 2 weeks ago. And then about a week ago, she we made the decision that okay, I'm going to move back into the same bedroom as you now. And so now we're sharing the same bedroom. She's constantly talking to me now. I can be calm, grounded, and she likes that. She goes, "Man, where were you all these years? Like you're just calm, you're grounded." Well, she didn't say grounded, but you're just I can enjoy your presence now. And
Yep,
she's constantly storming because she has work stuff and girlfriend stuff,
of
and
course.
I can just sit there and take it and I'll say, "Do you want solutions? Do you want me to listen? Do you need a hug? Do you need space?" And almost always she'll say, "Just sit here." Okay, I can do that. And yesterday she was like, I need solutions. I was like, oh, I can do that. I did that for decades.
Yeah, so we're good. So we're good at as men, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So much there. I guess the first, because since I'm running a YouTube script on it right now today, I actually want to actually ask you this question. It's about women trusting your changes, right? Because a lot of guys they feel like they're making changes, but the wife is like untrusting, or she's like, "Oh, you're not really changing. You're just doing this." First of all, did you experience a little bit of that in the beginning of her not trusting your changes?
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, she called me manipulative.
how did that show up, and then how did you respond to it?
Well, she initially would call me, I was being manipulative to her and the kids. Because
Right.
before, we always talk about fight, flight, or freeze. I call a fourth one fawning, not the, from the Chronicles of Narnia fawn, but like, oh, I'm desperately trying to get you back. I was the
Yeah.
fawn prince. I
Yeah. Yeah.
was like, I got to get you back. I got to get do this. And it never worked.
Mhm.
So she was expecting that initially, right? No, you're just trying to manipulate me to get me back. You're just making these changes. But when
Yep.
she saw, I think she just saw me being consistent over time.
Yep.
That was the main thing. Just like an alcoholic, 20 days off. It's like, I kind of don't trust you, but then 2 years, well, okay, I can start trusting you now. So now it's been a few months. And for the most part, yeah, I haven't done the past behaviors and I don't want to. That's why I continue to go to the
Right.
men's program. I do
And
not want to revert.
exactly. And this is something that I really want to reinforce with you because it's what a lot of guys truly struggle with. And it's the idea that process versus outcome. And what I mean by that, you might know what I mean by that, is like a lot of guys, when they first initially start and they're in that fawning phase and they're like being the nice guy and they just need her back, they're doing these changes legitimately for her. But what I've heard from your own narrative, your own personal, voice and thoughts is that you were doing these things for yourself since the beginning. Like I want to get back to where I was. I want to be a better man. I don't want to like these suicidal thoughts are not something that I want to deal with. And so from the very beginning, I heard you in your own narrative about how you are doing this for yourself, which is why you've been able to be consistent. And I think the biggest issue that a lot of guys have is that when they're in this outcome focused mode, whenever she does test, whenever she does pull away and she's in her dual mind narrative, they'll crumble because they're like, oh man, like it's not working, and then they'll give up. And it's like, well, she was
Mhm.
right all along. She was right because you were doing it for her, right? So
Yeah, I think initially that's how I started was, oh, I'm going to do it for myself and for her. But then as we got into it, I was like, no,
yeah.
I let go pretty quick of, well, if she divorces me, she divorces me, and I'll just be that much better for the next person.
Okay, that is another. That's the next lesson I want to talk about because as you know, that's probably the most advanced concept that a lot of new guys don't understand. And so
Mhm.
I'm always trying to break down and see how did you get there? How did you truly learn to let go? Was there a visualization exercise? Was there something that you did or thought that allowed you to be like, I will be okay, despite what happens?
I think it was once I did my values and boundaries, and I realized like I just need to live the best version of me
Mm,
and focus on me. Because if I keep focusing on her, I'm just going to go back to that fawning thing. And I don't want that. I hated myself. It wasn't enjoyable. It was miserable. And even now, as we're reconciling and she wants me around more, I'm like, I can kind of feel the old me trying to come out. And I'm like, nope, no, I
oh,
cannot go back to that. That was awful. And
mm.
so when it happens, I'm like, I'm going to go do one of my values. I'm going to go practice growth. I'm going to go practice persistence. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to go attend group calls. I try to do as many of those as I can, probably 2 to 3 a day on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
you didn't see my call on Friday.
I did. I was there for about the first
Yeah,
hour with Josh.
I saw you that. So Josh's story, right? Let's talk about that because I want to reinforce that with you as well. Now that you're in this like stage 4 to 5, with Josh, like he got his wife back after a year and then he kind of fell back into the old patterns, which he purposely admits, which is amazing. And so how are you going to stay on top of it and making sure like, oh, not get relaxed again and fall back into complacency?
Well, I made that a goal from the very beginning. Once I joined this program, I said, once I do these changes, I'm not going back and I cannot go back because I know if I go back, it's just going to be that much worse. So how can I prevent it? Well, I can keep doing the program even though I've done all the modules. I'm doing them a second time. I continue to go as many group calls as I can. Like I said, like I go to 2 to 3 every day, or as many as there's offered. I go to just about all of them, and I make the time. If I have
Yeah.
work meetings, I try to schedule around those calls because I'm like, I feel like I need those. Those meetings ground me.
Mm,
And I'm not going to give up my men's things, like my men's activities, my hobbies that I've formed since this change. Because if I do, I'm just becoming complacent again. And
yeah.
I don't want that again.
No, no. Besides the letting go, besides the process versus outcome, what is another powerful lesson that you think helped you along this journey? Yeah.
Another powerful lesson. I think it was breaking my old core beliefs.
Ooh, expand on that.
Well, I think I had some initial core beliefs like if I don't have the perfect marriage or if I'm a divorced man, I'm a broken person, I'll never be whole again. My family will always be fractured and I can never get back to being perfect. There's a stigma associated with it. So there was those letting go of those, like breaking the habit of being yourself. I did a lot of those meditation to try and get myself out of that. Sorry, my eyes keep watering because of air conditioning's blowing on me. Um, but those core beliefs and that I wasn't good enough the way I was. A
Man,
lot of your modules are like, hey, you're perfectly imperfect. It's okay to be imperfect. It's just
do
fine.
you remember the diamond analogy that I use? That sound familiar?
Yes,
Okay. Yeah,
something like
I'll
that.
expand on it because it's a really powerful one. That's because obviously people listening. So the idea here is that we come into this world as perfect beings, like under God's eyes, right? And
Mhm.
we are sinners, but like that sin is more. It's not that we're like imperfect. It's that we have dirt thrown onto us, right? And
Mhm.
those negative beliefs are like I'm not good enough, or like you have shame around past things that have happened that you kind of mentioned to, you alluded to,
People
which was
pleasing, yeah,
struggle
all
for
that.
me. Like I had a lot of things I was shameful of in my life that I was holding on to, and it's just healing yourself, forgiving yourself is about removing the dirt away. It's not like you have to add things to your life to become better because a lot of people who don't understand this concept, they're the ones that chase more money, chase other women, or do these things that externally try to make themselves feel good enough. But at the end of the day, it's that wound that's there that's never going to feel healed. Right. And so, yeah, I just wanted to reinforce that because such a brilliant concept.
Yeah, the core beliefs and the forgiving myself and forgiving my wife. Those
Yeah.
were like huge.
How did you forgive your wife through everything that she happened?
I think just after a while, like, because enough of those exercises where I list all the horrible things I did, and then it was the five whys. Like, I kind of did those multiple times because like, I don't think I've done enough of this. I spent 5 to 6 hours every day working on those
Wow.
because I felt like I want to make sure I master this because I really need it. And after I'd done those enough, I just realized my old core beliefs and holding on to resentment and anger was a past core belief. Like you should never forget what they did to you, but as your modules teach, it's okay to not forget. Just don't hold on to the emotion for it. That's when I was like, and I'm never going to move forward if I don't. So I think just one night, I don't remember any one moment, but over the process of time, I just, hey, I'm okay. I don't need to hold on to that. It doesn't serve me anymore.
Yeah, man, that's brilliant. Anything else that you've learned? One more lesson that you feel like you learned that's an important concept that allowed you to have this progress.
Well, the shadow, and I love this one because I'd never heard of it.
You're going deep to deep advanced concepts. Okay.
Yeah, well, I feel like it was like mind blowing for me because I mean, I have a PhD in cybersecurity, and
Wow.
so
Jeez.
like I love learning, reading deep stuff, and this is one of those deep things. And so when I looked at the show, I was like, oh yeah, this is all the repressed stuff I had from my childhood, from bullies, from parents, from siblings, from friends. There's a lot of hurt here, and I need to work on it. And like you said last Friday, the work never ends with Shadow, but I realized there's a lot of work I can do here to continue to improve, to also make sure I don't be complacent and go back. I just pick the next thing and the next thing and the next thing.
Can you illuminate us or make me on one of the shadows that you had that you became aware of?
Yeah, it was fear of abandonment.
Hmm.
So I was going through some old child because I was like, where, like, for example, when the wife used to throw around divorce or separation, I was like, this is triggering to me. Why? Why am I taking it so personally? Or when someone throws an insult at my way, even though it's false, it's like, why do I take it so personally? well, there was some childhood trauma and shame and events that happened. I realized that's got to be the trigger. That's it. So, talking with Chris and Dyson and Peter Rice about it, trying to, okay, how do I work through this? I started the shadow work journal um, to try and work through that. And that's been very helpful to go, I don't need to take things personally that she says or anyone else says. If they're true or not, I can just sit there. It helps me hold my frame.
Love that. Yeah, that shadow stuff, man. It's like we oftentimes think that what we show in our personality is like that's the right way. Like, oh yeah, like I should fight for my marriage. And it's like that's like the shadow speaking from behind, like fighting for your marriage. It's disguised as fighting for your marriage, but what it really is the neediness, right? Because you have a shadow around maybe holding stillness in yourself and not chasing, right? And so like that's the concept there. And um Mike, the last question I love asking is, if you could go back to the very beginning before you joined this program and give yourself a piece of advice that you needed to hear at that time that would help the journey, what would you have told yourself?
Mm. Believe the Stockdale Paradox.
Ooh, ooh,
Believe it.
wow.
Because it's true, right?
Yeah, that's a good one.
And frequently, I think it was around those modules where you're like, expect miracles to happen every day. And especially once I read Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself, where he goes, you can expect some things to happen, just not the process of how it happens.
Yep.
I saw that start to happen after weeks. So trust the Stockdale Paradox. Things will happen, not in the way that you always think, because things did happen in ways I never thought would happen. And it was awesome to just kind of watch it happen and go, oh, by not trying to control the outcome, I can enjoy the ride more.
Yeah. And the other variable of the Stockdale paradox, which I think is so important that guys don't understand, is the idea of timing and rushing versus like
Can't
rec
rush it.
recognizing how much time, because that part of you, that shadow part of you that is afraid of abandonment is like, I need her back now. If too much time goes by, she's going to forget about me. She's not going to love me anymore. Right. That's like the energy with it. But in reality, a guy who rushes, he's perceived as low value. Right. I mean, like,
Not doing the work.
I don't want to be too crude, but if you think about in like, the bedroom, right? A guy who rushes that process, it's like, whoa, that was not a good experience. And it's kind of the same process in courtship and getting her back as well. It's like, I'm not in a rush. I know you're coming back. I have pure confidence this is going to work out. I'm focusing on myself and I know it's going to happen and I don't care when. That's the paradox, right? And so, yeah, that's one of the reinforce that as well.
Yeah, I love this paradox, the paradigm of slow down. It that has changed a lot of things. When she talks, I'm like, why am I trying to rush through this conversation?
Ah.
Why am I trying to rush this? Why am I trying to rush this? I can slow down, be calm, and I've noticed my memory's better.
Hmm.
As I write my goals, I go, oh, I should probably check that. Oh yeah, I think about things more, or I'm not like scatterbrained as much as I used to be, just slowing down.
And I've noticed not just with this process of working with hundreds of guys to save their marriage, but even in like for me personally, I don't know about you, but business and fitness and all these other goals, it always takes like a little bit longer than I've always expected,
Mhm.
And so, yeah, enjoying going back to the process versus the outcome. If you really focus on the process and not the outcome, you're not going to rush, right? You're going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
So,
And that was the same with the homework. I feel like I get so many
oh,
men in those calls where they just rush through the program. I'm like, you're not doing it because the real work is in the homework. And sometimes I did it 2 or 3 times.
yeah, and so I know, and I say it in the beginning modules, but like a lot of guys think that if I just finish, if I go through this whole course, she'll come back at the very end. They have that kind of like belief.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, it's like building a house, right? That's why I use the house metaphor. It's if you rush to build a house, you're going to make mistakes. The foundation's going to be cracking, and things are going to fall apart, right? So you're rebuilding yourself. What is more important than rebuilding yourself as a man? I mean, you can't rush that process at all. But I
Exactly.
digress. Yeah, man. Mike.
Best money I ever spent. I mean, my
mm,
grandpa, who was very close to me, died last year and left me a good inheritance.
yeah.
And, when she said we're separating, I thought, what better way? My grandpa loved education. That was one of his top things. I thought, this is the best education money since my degree that I'll ever spend. So, not that I spent all of it on the program, but just
No,
about.
of course
But
not.
it was totally worth it. Totally worth it.
Mike, I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to share your story with me. Is there any questions you have for me before we wrap up?
No, I was, well, are you, like, if I go to stage 5, is there another one of these or is just this is it, or
No, I mean, like, yeah, I know we got in the call because of how much progress you've made and, the results you've been having. And I know stage five is coming for you because you're on this process. I mean, I didn't see any blind spots from you at least. And so, yeah, we can get up a follow-up call if you'd like to in a few months from now. If you've like learned a lot more, you feel like you made some progress, I'd love to get on a call with you. It's been fun to talk to you.
yeah. And what advice do you have besides staying in the program and with men like that I should expect with her, do with her?
As I talk about, and I get this question a lot, and I've actually been thinking about it decently a lot more, and because she's in stage four with you and she's more accepting of your influence, I mean, novelty, like planning things out that you guys have never done before, and you take the lead. And you're like, hey, we're doing this, and you just have like an amazing time with her somewhere, doing something new, whether it's like a shared new hobby you guys have, traveling somewhere, obviously with her, but just giving her like a lot of fun. Like honestly, setting a goal. I'm gonna have the most fun week or weekend with her I've ever had, and that is your goal. And like you are just so present, you're leading, you're allowing her to relax, not think about anything and let go. And if you can do that consistently, just find new things to help her. And then also, by the way, this is something that a lot of we talked about in my two calls ago with a guy who I did a BIA call with, salute call, is I don't know, we didn't talk about this, so I don't know, but ask yourself the question, am I leading her spiritually? And if so, am I leading her enough spiritually? And so like in your faith, like are you guiding her towards, making sure that you guys are, putting God first and like how that looks as the man in the relationship? That's your role is to lead her that towards that.
That one I can say I can definitely see it working
Yeah.
because she was not even coming. It was
Mhm.
just me and my kids going. Now she at least comes. She'll stay the whole time.
Yeah.
And sometimes she'll ask me questions about it, even though she's still antagonistic towards kind of faith in general.
Yeah.
She's
Yeah.
making changes. And I realize I don't have to change her. I don't have to do anything. I just continue to lead and be myself, and it works.
Well,
So,
yeah, and if you give credit to your faith as well for your changes, that'll influence her more to see that. And so I would say those two things is like the spiritual leadership is how we can define that, and then novelty. Adding those two things in the stage you're at is going to definitely skyrocket you forward.
that's a shadow work I need to do for novelty because I
And,
don't feel like I'm good at that yet.
yeah, and this is like 6 months out, but I'm developing like a back end program that's like Apex
Ooh,
Essential program that's like my modus operandi, like just the best work I've had, and it's going to be amazing. But I'm developing the course content right now. It takes a while to develop a year long program, but that's
yeah,
down. Yeah. So.
yeah. Well, thank you, Josh. I don't
Thanks,
want to, I
Mike.
know we're a minute over. I don't want, I know your time's
Oh, you're good.
valuable.
You're good. You're good. And so is yours, man. I just want to say thank you so much. I'm so grateful for you, and hopefully I can see you on one of my Friday calls. But I just
Yeah, I generally come when I can.
yeah, no, yeah, no, I know, yeah, for sure. And I would just say one last thing, which is I always tell every guy this too, is, and I think you already do this, but just mentoring other guys in the program, leaving some comments in the school group, guys where you were at before, who are maybe not seeing some stuff themselves, and then you recommend point them in the right direction, essentially.
Yeah, I hang out a lot with Near, Soph,
News,
Robert,
yeah,
and
sounds
those
great.
guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, those guys are great.
they are. They are. All right, Mike.
Okay, thanks, Josh.
Take
Love the
care.
program. Keep it
Thank
up.
you. Thank you. Bye.